Alrighty guys, welcome to my college basketball video here today for Wednesday, January 18th, 2023. Happy Wednesday to you. Happy hump day to you. Hey, it's going to be Friday before you know it. Now, my name is Brock Page. I've been doing sports picks for free on YouTube since 2016. I also sell my personal plays on patreon.com/BrockPage, where I'm currently 5-0 my last 5 extra daily bets on that site. And the best part about the extra daily bet, it costs just $2.99 to sign up. Now, the better part about that is, well, if you sign up for that package here today, you're going to get access to that membership for the next 30 days. But wait, there's more, because as an added bonus, I'm also going to include my daily best play for you absolutely free. It's going to be included with your purchase. Now, guys, real quick, if you find yourself enjoying these videos every day, day in and day out, and you want to show some support, hey, you're more than welcome to do that. I'll graciously accept. You're more than welcome to sign up for any one of my memberships on my site. Now, of course, I am going to recommend to you that you pick up my all-inclusive board member package. It gives you access to every single play, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. If you sign up here today, it literally gives you full access to every play I give out on that site and every single membership that's offered there. And I'll tell you what, if you sign up here today, it's going to work out to be just $1.66 a day for the board member package. That's certainly good value for you, as I'm posting anywhere between 4 to 6 personal plays on that site every single day. Guys, it's a safe and secure website, so if you're serious about sports betting, I strongly suggest you at least consider it. And of course, guys, if you want to show support, but not to the extent of the board member package, you just want to show some kindness here, well, I got many smaller, lesser expensive packages you can sign up to as well. Hell, you don't even have to pay attention to the picks. You know, you can just donate. I mean, it is what it is, however you want to give. You know, and of course, we're red hot in that extra daily bet package. Now, you may be wondering what the difference is between what I do on Patreon and what I do here on these free videos. Well, what I do on the videos is I'll handicap the entire slate of games in any given sport, side and total. And what I do on my website is I actually share with you which one of these free plays I actually have my personal action on. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and dive into some free content. We're going to start off with UConn at Seton Hall, and that's going to be a 6:30 Eastern start time. Now, UConn's the 4.5-point favorite on the road. Total's 135.5. And as bad as UConn's been over the past few weeks, I do think they can get back on track here. They really have no choice. They got to get back on track, and you got to win conference games on the road. I'll tell you this much. They're still averaging 80 points a game, and they are one of the better rebounding teams in the entire country. So this isn't a team, you know, on the decline. I think they just hit a rough patch, but I think tonight's a good night to get back on track. Now, Adama Sanogo, he's averaging nearly 7 rebounds a night. He's also scoring a team-high 17 points a game. Of course, Jordan Hawkins, he's making nearly 40% of his three-pointers. Legit deep ball threat. He's also second on the team in points per game. Now, UConn's facing a Seton Hall team who isn't particularly an offensive juggernaut. These guys average only 69 points a game. They're also having a tough time making three-pointers. Matter of fact, the Pirates are making just 31% of their shots from long range. Now, injury-wise, Yetna, Harris, and Diaye, they're all still out for Seton Hall. When it comes to the total, the Pirates saw unders in their last 3 straight. Meanwhile, UConn saw unders against the likes of Creighton, Providence, and Butler, all conference foes. I'm going to lean toward UConn, minus 4.5, under 135 and a hook. Next game, it is going to be Virginia Tech taking on the Virginia Cavaliers, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. UVA is minus 6, totals 126. Now, the Cavaliers are on a 3-game winning streak. They got the W in 7 out of their last 10. These guys are one of the toughest teams to score against in the nation. They allow just 59 points a game, and they're one of the best defensive rebounding teams in the ACC. Now, scoring-wise, Armand Franklin, he averages just about a dozen points a game. He's also making 40% of his three-pointers. Meanwhile, Reese Beekman, he's knocking down nearly 50% of his long balls. Now, they're facing an ice-cold Virginia Tech team who lost their last 5 straight, and they failed to cover in all 5 of those losses. And I'll tell you what, during that losing streak, the Hokies averaged only 69 points a game during that span. Now, injury-wise, Hunter Couture, he's questionable for the Hokies with an arm injury. I think it's a forearm, if I'm not mistaken. And when it comes to the total, Virginia Tech saw unders against the likes of NC State, Clemson, and Dayton. Meanwhile, UVA, they went 60% to the under in their last 10. Give me the Virginia Cavaliers -6, under 126. Next game, it is going to be TCU taking on West Virginia, and that'll be a 7 o'clock Eastern start time. West Virginia is the 2-point favorite, totals 148. And even though West Virginia really has no business being the favorite the way they've been playing lately, it actually feels like a letdown spot for TCU. This is where, like, me as a sports bettor, I get in my own head. But it feels like a letdown spot. Like, the Horned Frogs are coming off a huge win against K-State. They're also little threat shooting it from long range. These guys are making just 28% of their three-pointers offensively. And when it comes to the defensive end of the court, the Horned Frogs have actually had their issues grabbing defensive boards. Now, they're facing a West Virginia team who's one of the better defensive rebounding teams in the Big 12. And speaking of defense, the Mountaineers allowed just 69 points a night. Now, offensively, Trey Mitchell, he scores over 13.5 points a game. He's also drilling nearly 40% of his three-pointers. Meanwhile, Emmett Matthews, he's making over 41% of his shots from beyond the arc. Now, when it comes to offensive production, the Mountaineers are still averaging over 78 points a game despite their recent skid. So this is a team that can certainly get to the hoop. When it comes to the total, West Virginia went 70% to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, TCU saw 7 out of their last 10 get over the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward West Virginia -2, over 148. Next game, Ohio State, Nebraska, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Ohio State's -4.5, totals 138. And because they've had a rough stretch over the past few weeks, it does feel like we are getting a generous number with Ohio State here. They're still a top 25 offensive rebounding team, and they're making nearly 40% of their three-pointers as a program as well. Bryce Sensabaugh, he's knocking down 46% of his shots from downtown. He's also scoring 16 points a game. Of course, Justice Suing, it feels like he's been in Columbus for like 10 years. But anyway, Suing, he's scoring over 13.5 points a night himself. And when it comes to defensive play, the Buckeyes are limiting their competition to just 29% shooting from beyond the arc. Now, they're facing a Nebraska team who's one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the Big Ten. They also have all kinds of problems scoring points. These guys are averaging only 66 points a game. Now, more recently, the Cornhuskers took the loss in 6 out of their last 9. And when it comes to the injury report, Greisel and Keita, they are questionable. Gary's still out. Meanwhile, for Ohio State on the other side, Bruce Thornton is questionable with a wrist. Keep an eye on him. He's a pretty good deep ball threat. Now, total-wise, Ohio State saw unders against the likes of Rutgers, Minnesota, and Northwestern. Meanwhile, Nebraska went 80% to the under in their last 10. Give me Ohio State -4.5, under 138. Next game, Auburn, LSU, 7 o'clock East. Auburn's -5.5, totals 137. And even though I'm not a big fan of this number in a conference game on the road, I do think Auburn can cover here. They're allowing just 63 points a game, and they're limiting their opponents to just 39% shooting from the field. Like, more impressive, Auburn's in the top 3 in the nation in guarding the three-pointer. Wendell Green Jr., he has 27 steals on the season. He also leads the team in points with over 13.5 points per contest. Meanwhile, Jalen Williams, he averages double-digit points a game, and he's also drilling 42% of his long balls. Now, Auburn's facing an LSU team on the other side who's on a 4-game skid, and they failed to cover in 7 out of their last 10. When it comes to offensive production, LSU really hasn't scored a whole lot of points this year. They're averaging only 69 points a game. Now, total-wise, no real shock here. LSU went 70% to the under in their last 10. Meanwhile, Auburn saw unders against the likes of Arkansas and Florida. Give me Auburn minus 5.5, under 137. Next game, more SEC action. I'm talking about Florida at Texas A&M, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. The Aggies are minus 4.5, totals 139. Now, I do like the red-hot Aggies at home here. They're on a 6-game winning streak, and they failed to cover only one time during that span. When it comes to defensive play, the Aggies are allowing just 66 points a game, and they're a top 10 defensive rebounding team. Henry Coleman averages nearly 6 rebounds a game. He's also scoring double-digit points per contest. Meanwhile, Wade Taylor, he averages over 15.5 points a game himself, and he's drilling nearly 40% of his long balls. Now, they're facing a Florida team who lost 3 out of their last 6. Losses to the likes of Auburn, Oklahoma, and this very Texas A&M team back on January 4th. Matter of fact, the Gators were held to just 63 points in that loss to A&M. When it comes to defensive play, the Gators are showing some difficulties grabbing rebounds on the defensive end. Now, injury-wise, Jatobo's questionable for the Gators. Obaseki and Henderson still out for A&M. When it comes to the total, A&M went 6-3 to the under in their last 9. Meanwhile, Florida went 8-1 to the under in their last 9 themselves. I'm going to lean toward Texas A&M minus 4.5, under 139. Next contest I have for you, a little Big 12 action. I'm talking about Oklahoma at Oklahoma State, and that's going to be a 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off. The Oklahoma State Cowboys are minus 3 at home, totals 128. And for a team laying a bucket in a conference game here, the Cowboys actually have not played all that great recently. They lost their last 3 straight, and they averaged only 53 points a game in those losses. They also may go to work without their top defender, Musa Cisse. Now, the 7'1" big man is questionable with an ankle injury, and that's certainly bad news because he's responsible for 9.9 rebounds a night and 38 total blocks on defense for the year. Now, they're facing an Oklahoma Sooner team who makes nearly 50% of their shots from the field. Very good shooting team. Tanner Groves, he makes 54% of his field goals. He's also second on the team in scoring. When I say good shooting team, I'm talking about from mid-range, close to the basket. Grant Sherfield, he also averages a team-high 17 points a night. When it comes to defensive play, the Sooners probably are going to be able to take advantage of the injury to Cisse. They're already a top 15 defensive rebounding team. So if the big man's out for Oklahoma State, this could be really good news for the Sooners. Now, total-wise, the Sooners saw unders recently with Texas Tech, Iowa State, and Florida. They also, Oklahoma State. I don't know what I'm trying to say. We're seeing a lot of unders between both of these teams. Give me the Sooners plus 3, under 128. All right, next matchup, some more Big East action. I'm talking about Providence taking on Marquette, and that'll be a 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Marquette's minus 7 at home here. Total's 152.5. Now, the Golden Eagles are coming fresh off a conference loss to Xavier. They allowed 80 points in that loss to the Musketeers, played some pretty bad defense. Now, I know Xavier scores a lot of points, but you got to do better than that in a conference game. And I'll tell you what, that's really been these guys' Achilles' heel this year. I'm talking about Marquette. They're allowing 72 points a game, and they have one of the higher defensive field goal percentages in the Big East. When it comes to rebounding the basketball, there's not many teams out there worse than Marquette. They're actually averaging fewer offensive and defensive boards per game than most programs in the entire country. Now, they're facing one of the better rebounding teams in the nation in Providence. These guys are actually a top 15 offensive rebounding team. They're also scoring nearly 80 points a night, and they covered the point spread in 9 out of their last 10, cashing a lot of tickets if you're backing Providence. Bryce Hopkins, he grabs nearly double-digit rebounds a night. He also leads the team in scoring. Bryce averages over 16 points a game and drains nearly 40% of his three-pointers. Meanwhile, Ed Crosswell, he's grabbing over 7.5 boards a night himself and also averages a dozen points a game. Now, injury-wise, Bynum is questionable. Barry's still out for Providence. Meanwhile, for Marquette on the other side, Ellis is still out for them. When it comes to the total, 5 out of Marquette's last 7 did get over the number. Meanwhile, Providence went 60% to the over in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward Providence plus 7 over 152.5. Next game, it is going to be Arkansas at Missouri, 9 o'clock Eastern start time. Missouri is -1, totals 155. Now, Missouri did lose 3 out of their last 4, and I just don't think they play good enough defense to get the job done here. They're allowing nearly 76 points a game, and they're arguably the worst rebounding team in the SEC. And no real surprise here, guys. The Tigers have one of the higher defensive three-point percentages in the SEC as well. They're facing an Arkansas team who loves to shoot the basketball. These guys are making nearly 48% of their shots from the field. They're also averaging nearly 77 points a game offensively. Ricky Council IV, he's scoring a team-high 18 points a game. Meanwhile, teammate Anthony Black, he's scoring nearly 13 points a game himself. When it comes to defensive play, the Razorbacks, they've been pretty tough underneath the basket. They're one of the better defensive rebounding teams in the conference. Now, injury-wise, Smith is still out for the Razorbacks. Mosley questionable for Mizzou. When it comes to the total, Missouri went 60% to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, Arkansas saw overs against the likes of Vanderbilt, Alabama, and Oklahoma. I'm going to lean toward Arkansas plus 1 over 155. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the video. It is going to be Oregon taking on Cal, 10 o'clock Eastern start time. The Oregon Ducks are -7.5, totals 131. Now, the Ducks have gotten the W in 6 out of their last 9. And they've done a solid job on the defensive end of the court. They're allowing only 66 points a game, and they're actually one of the better defensive rebounding teams in the Pac-12. N'Faly Dante averages nearly 8 rebounds a night. He's also scoring 13.5 points a game. Of course, Will Richardson, he leads the Ducks in scoring. They're facing a Cal team who's just 3-15 overall for this season. And no real surprise here, guys. The Golden Bears average only 61 points a game. And they're one of the worst offensive rebounding teams in the country. Now, injury-wise, Askew is questionable. Hyder, Ragsdale, and Celestine are all still out. When it comes to the total, Cal saw unders against the likes of Washington State, Utah, and Santa Clara. Meanwhile, Oregon, on the other side, they saw unders against the likes of Utah, Colorado, and UCLA. I'm going to lean toward Oregon -7.5. Under 131. With that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my website. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, guys, happy Wednesday to you. Happy hump day to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.